I don't know. I'm just going to throw it out there, guys.
Do it.
See if Murph is watching. Murph, Jay's got 3 words for you.
Let's go Rangers, baby.
That's 4.
That was 4.
It's 4.
It's all right. It counted. It counted, though. The first 3 are what matter. What is up, Defects? Back live on a Monday night. Jay's here. We're rolling now. I feel like we're on almost every Monday now. This is something new, you know? Good to see you guys. Big show planned. Special guests. Let's just get right into it. But before we do that, I gotta say what up to my boys. Bush, what up? What up? What are you doing?
What is up, guys? Playoff hockey is upon us. Being here is brutal right now. Thank God we aren't live tomorrow night when the Rangers are on, but excited to be here. I think it's a great topic. I think it's a topic that has definitely changed over the course of the last year, especially. So really excited to get into it. Excited about our guest as always. Guyuch, tell him what up.
I figured Murph's not going to be watching because he's too busy watching the game right now. So, obviously, what up, Defects? Thank you for stopping by tonight. We all know we got playoff hockey, so we're all excited about it. But we're here with you. Very excited about tonight's show. Always love when the Haas shows up to the show and hangs out with us. So you know he's coming with some statistics. Him and Matty together make like a friggin'. All of a sudden, I feel like I'm on like the FBI and shit.
I see the reflection of the game in guys.
Yeah, don't worry about it.
Glass, and then tomorrow night when Jay goes live on Whatnot, which we're all going to be there, if the Rangers
play it
still
in the
playing,
background.
Are you going to just have that on in the background, Jay, or what?
I mean, I think the game should be over by 9:45, but
Yeah.
if it's not, I'm going to be pissed off. And if I do bad on Whatnot, I'm really going to be fucking pissed
That'll
off.
be the last. That'll be the last
Yeah.
time.
Oh, yeah, that'll be the last. That'll be the last.
But you could throw it on behind you. People will love it. You can still hear it. People will watch it. I mean, come on. It's like you got the perfect setup for it.
Bro, I'm
Jesus
one of those guys. I
Christ.
can only do one thing at a time.
That's and even that. And even
Yep,
Yeah.
and even that is brutal.
We love you, brother. We love you. Let's get into some sponsors. Jay, a couple perfect games in a row.
Let me clear my throat.
Yeah.
I got too much pressure on me now. First up, guys, the best in the business, Erod 212 Express Comic Book Pressing. Erod will blaze your books, all and pressing needs. Defects 10 gets you 10% off. Not only that, Erod passes along his CGC and CBCS, so hit him up. Attention. Next up, everybody's favorite Beaver, Mutant Beaver comics for all online exclusive variants. Defects 10 gets you 10% off. They ship worldwide. That's right, worldwide. So tell Pat and the B-Man the Defects sent you. I almost fucked that one up.
That was close. I felt you just say, fuck it, I'm going to end it so I don't fuck up. But
That's
okay,
it.
because still a perfect game. Guy Forge looking super clear tonight. Did you notice that, Jay?
He is looking clear.
Is there new equipment in the house, Guy Forge?
No, this is the same computer. So
I mean, you are
I
crisp
have
as fuck.
I have not brought out the new laptop that Matty Forge, was the brains behind.
Listen, you are looking.
So-
Maybe it's just because it's in the room. You are just super crisp right now.
All right, nice. I like it. It's the
Speaking of
haircut.
crisp,
It's the
speaking
haircut.
of crisp, Guy Forge, you want to bring in the guest?
Well, listen, the guy cuts his hair like us, so he should hang out with us. That's just my opinion. So you know what? He goes to the same barber, even though he's across the country. Listen. If you ever watch his shows, he sits in front of not only some crazy fucking books,
Yeah,
but the man's got an Emmy behind him. Okay,
it's true. It's true.
bring in the Haas.
What's going on?
Welcome, my friend.
Thank you so much for bringing me back 2 times in a month, I think, right?
There you go. Look at
pretty
that, a
exciting.
regular.
Yeah.
You must
yeah.
be doing something wrong. to be honest with you. Then
I'm getting to that number of appearances that no longer matters anymore. Like the collectability is dropping off. You know?
This is true. This is true. Good to have you here, brother. Just to give people a quick recap of how this, came to be, like just a few days ago. You put out a video. I want to say it was Friday? Was that a Friday video?
Yeah, so end of the week, last week.
Okay. Put out a video that was basically an unboxing of awesome book, and I'll let people go watch it if they want. I don't want to spill all the details. But the second half of the video, which you rolled into very, very, very nicely, might I add, was basically talking about, raws, to simplify it, basically raws versus graded. And what's the better buy right now, and where's the demand right now, and why? And I think you kind of gave a really good insight into what 2021 caused, with raw books being essentially at least priced the same as their graded counterparts. Now, whether they sold that way, I think a lot of times they did or close to it, but almost every listing you saw, if the book was a near mint, it was selling for almost like the 9.6 price, and if it was a 7.0, it was selling, they had it listed for the 7.5 price, so it was like, that's what 2021 did. And I mean, what was kind of your quick kind of overall conclusion to kind of it was only, you talked about it for about 6 or 7 minutes, and kind of give us your kind of wrap up to that video and kind of lead us into where we're going to talk about tonight.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I'm glad you guys wanted to talk about this because, like you said, in my video, I only talked about it for a few minutes, but I feel like there's so much more to unpack with the topic. But my general thoughts going into it were, a lot of people, for whatever reason, always kind of pegged me as a guy who was like the champion of the raw comic books, even though that's really not the stance I've ever had. It just, I happen to have more raws. And then over time, people would tease me because it's like, oh, Swag, you're buying all these graded books. And my opinion on that was, it's like, it's not me that all of a sudden wants graded books, is that the market had changed, in the last couple of years, where all of a sudden prices, like you said, were essentially the same. So at a certain point, it was like, well, why would I buy? Before, I used to be able to buy the raw book for, you maybe save a little bit, the grading fees, and maybe a little bit of, I don't know what you would want to call it, like the risk that it doesn't actually hit the grade fee, right? And then over time, like you said, the prices kind of equalized. And then at that point, it was like, oh, I might as well just buy the graded book because it's already, CGC fees are included in this. And now we're kind of just hitting a point where I feel like the demand for raws have started to come up more. And a lot of the graded books, I mean, depending on what book you're talking about, but especially mid-grade level, say bronze and silver books, like those prices are really, really hurting. And in the book that I was unboxing, I just kind of had a situation where it was like, yeah, here's me buying this raw book that now is way more affordable than my graded book, or the graded book equivalent would be for it, once again. So that was kind of what the video was about, and to kind of sum it up.
Very, very well put together, by the way, which most of your stuff is. So I'm not really worried about when I go watch your stuff, but awesome book. Awesome book.
Oh, yeah. Thank you. Yeah.
And it's nice to have, obviously the 2 copies that, that was the outcome. Obviously you wanted a raw copy too, and a slab copy, right? Yeah.
It just became a thing where it's like, I wanted to upgrade it. And also I didn't mind getting a raw copy because aesthetically, I didn't want, it bothers me when there's a raw and then a grade and then a raw, it looks all funky to me. So I didn't mind getting it like that.
So you like symmetry, you're saying?
Us comic nerds, we gotta have our, look at all our backgrounds, it's like, this is all deliberate,
That means you need an Emmy on for the other side though.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Well,
you gotta balance it out.
Happen anytime soon.
You gotta balance it out. So, I think so much and not really on purpose, but the past 2 months, we've really talked a lot about grading and CGC and some of the mishaps. And again, not to bash CGC, we try to put that out there every time, but these things are happening and we have to cover them. And this is a conversation that kind of kind of leads to that. You know, I don't want to say, and I know Jay has some opinions about this, so I'm going to throw it to him first. But I think there is a lot of factors to that are going to support the stance that, you know, maybe the values aren't equal as far as the dollar value, but like Mickey, you were trying to say that maybe not the numeric value, but the actual value as far as how much is on the bone compared to how much you bought it for, and what's your upside versus your, you know, a slab just being that price and it's not going to move much. You know, maybe there's other contributing factors to it, and we've talked a lot about them on this channel with, you know, mistrust in some of the grading companies, right, Jay? And that being a factor as to why some people, maybe the slabs aren't as desirable right now. What do you think?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, we see what CGC and CBCS been going through in the last year, maybe even longer than that. And like we talked about on the show in the past, we see mistakes, and we hear about it in the community, all being community members, and, you know, everybody in the chat being a community member. I mean, more mistakes now so than ever. Way longer waiting times. No matter what tier you're sending in, you're still not getting your books back when you're supposed to. In most cases, right? Defects, books that are getting 9.8 that shouldn't get 9.8 with visible defects on the book, even through the slab. So I think in this conversation, it really does come down to the specific book and the specific grade, just like Mickey said, you know. So we'll use examples, and we'll get into that as the show goes on. But myself, I've been leaning. I haven't submitted a book in what, Matt, about a year and a half.
It's a little over a year for us.
And the reason being is I haven't bought many grails. I pretty much checked everything off my list as a collector. I stopped buying so much of everything and just focused on the characters and the books that I wanted. When it comes to grails, listen, I'm not going to keep a grail raw. Any book that's over, you know, $1,500, $2,000, I am going to submit to CGC. I am going to send it to E-Rod to get pressed and cleaned up before that. And all that is money. So, I'm a little on the fence. I still tend to think slabs are going to fetch the higher dollar amount because it's your guaranteed grade, right? We'll say guaranteed in parentheses. So, but again, man, like I watch PJ Morris and Morbius, and I get their point, man, with not slabbing any of these books because who knows? It depends on the grader. Is the book really a 9.8? Is it really a 9.6? Is it really a 5.0? So I get that, but I do send into like the bigger books to slab as an investment, as something to save just in case. And we've said this before. If something happens to me, my wife, my son, they have an idea what that book could sell for just by pulling it up on eBay. But I'm with these guys right now, man. I'm with Morbius. I'm with PJ. I'm with all these other old school raw collectors that don't want to submit their books. I get it, man. I get it. As far as moderns, I'm not sending in any moderns to CGC anymore. I'm not sending in any more minor keys. It's just that's how I feel right now. We'll get into price point and go on, but
yeah, I mean, you know, and I think that is a whole the slab to not slab is a whole separate, not that it's a separate conversation, but that can be a separate conversation. You could have a whole show just on that, the reasons why to do one or the other. You know, and like Jay said, we do have a couple examples to kind of show, you know, maybe like heat check. One of the examples is almost like a heat check, like what's hotter. And I know Mickey, during your video, you kind of mentioned that, like what is hotter, not necessarily what's selling for more, but what is more desirable at this time.
Yeah.
And then there's another example that I have that is going to show dollar for dollar on a, I don't want to say a grail, but a major Silver Age villain key. So we're gonna show those two things off and kind of dive into it. Now, I saw a lot of I got a lot of DMs, and I saw some comments even before the show that people had a lot of strong feelings about this even before I got slabs will always be more money. Slabs will always be more money. And while on the surface that's probably a statement I would agree with, I think there's some nuance to it, and I think there's a little bit of a deeper dive as to, again, dollar for dollar. Maybe you're right. Maybe on that 9.8, maybe on those higher grades, that's always going to be the case. But what about the lower grade, or what about the non-keys, or what about filler, so that's why I said there's a couple of different examples, and there's two specific books that I want to look at. Now, it's hard to do this with raws versus slab, right? Because with slabs, you have a grade scale and you have places to look that up, sale for sale. With the raw stuff, it's very hard. You almost have you have to sit there, grade the book out yourself, and say, I think this falls into a 9.4, 9.6 category, and then compare it to the latest slab on that. We can't do that for 12 books here. We would be on for 4 hours, right?
Yeah, but the problem with that is, especially when you're talking about like a 9.6 to a 9.8, when you're looking at a raw book, you may think you have a 9.8, but that price point from that 9.6 to that 9.8 is so significantly different. It jumps so high. So there's the problem with that. And yeah, you send it in for that 9.8, but when it comes back, that 9.6, is it worth cracking it out so someone does the same thing you do? Oh, maybe I could potentially get the 9.8 with this. You know what I mean? And who's to say they won't? You might crack open a 9.6, sell to someone, they submit it in, and then boom, there's the 9.8. Yeah. And that's the problem with the grading company right there.
What do you got, Guy? He's muted or frozen or something. What do you got, Guy?
I was frozen. I'm sorry. I missed everything you said.
What do you got there on the screen for Super Chat?
From A Supreme Love, he said, thanks for making a list of NC relaxing. He said, through rain, sleet, snow, defects will show. So
I like that. I like that little catchphrase.
Yeah, he says, man, the books, they look so nice in the Mylar, dude. There's nothing. You throw a 5.0 book in a Mylar, it could look like an 8.0. You know what I mean? But
true.
And another thing that comes into play is buying and selling raw versus slabs, right? Because if I'm buying a high dollar value book online, I've been burnt too many times to buy a raw copy, man. If it's a Grail, I'm buying it slab.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, just because it's safer, because you don't know what You may get pictures, you might get this, you might get that, but you don't know what's going on the inside of that book. You don't know if there's water damage, stuff that the camera can't pick up. So, modern's different. You buy modern online, you're all right. You're buying Silver Age and maybe even some Bronze Age books online, eBay, whatnot, Instagram. You don't know what you're going to get. So that's where I'll buy a slab and spend that extra money knowing the guaranteed grade rather than rolling the dice.
Yeah.
Yep. What were you going to say, Mickey? God.
Well, there's something interesting when you're bringing up the people who are instantly kind of reacting to the thumbnail and stuff. And I'd say that I think we'd all agree, like in a vacuum, of course, the graded book is always going to be more expensive. I mean, just grading fees alone is always going to make it more expensive. But I think what it is it's like the demand aspect, or like how, like what's going to be easier to sell, and kind of like Jay, what you're saying, like there's definitely a price point where it's like, yeah, if it's above like $1,500, like grade the book by all means. But then when you get into that, like it's a $500 book range, all of a sudden you're in this weird spot. If like, let's say you got a 5.0 book that's graded, and then you have what looks like a raw 5.0 book. I feel like a lot of people would almost rather buy the raw one for whatever reason. Like maybe it's a psychological thing, or like they just think, oh, I can just like, I can press that one up, or like I don't need it in a slab. And that one might be easier to sell or be faster to sell now. And I think that's kind of maybe what at least this conversation is too,
Right. And it's funny that you said that, because I was going to kind of talk about the demand. You had said, taking a step backwards a little bit, we had said that, during 2021 and early 2022, there was, the raw books, were listed equal to the graded, and some of the sales, they were really close. And do you think it's because because, and I think the same goes for now, but then the demand for everything was so high.
Yeah.
And there's less places to look up a raw value than there is obviously a slab value. And it created almost like a frenzy where books were going so fast that you didn't really have time to think, is this raw, like, am I getting the right price for this raw book? You just saw that book. Somebody told you had to buy it. It looks like it's priced, and a lot of new buyers not knowing that a near mint book is not the same as buying, you know, a 9.8 or a 9.6 or even a 9.4, right? Technically shouldn't be. But do you think that the supply, the demand is what's really driving some of these prices, raw and slab? Because you even mentioned that the consolidation of certain grades where we are seeing higher grade books sell for less than lower grade books because at that time, maybe just nobody was looking to buy that book. Maybe one was bought on a buy it now and one was bought on an auction when no one was really looking. And you showed a book that a 5.0 sold for like $80 less than than a 4.0 and not too far apart.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's got to be demand causing that, right?
I think so, for sure. I definitely think that the demand has cooled down. So like it's not like there's any given day, like any of these books, just depending on who's watching, you know, could sell lower or higher. So like there's just a lot of like volatility in that middle section. And then, but compared to 2021 and 2022, you know, I think there was a point where it's like, let's say you had a book that, you know, the graded version can get you 1,000, and then maybe it was like normal for you to sell the raw for, I don't know, like $700, right? But then all of a sudden, I think people just started to kind of get greedy in 2021 when everything was going crazy, and you're just sort of thinking to yourself, well, why would I sell mine for $700 when I know this guy's just going to send it in to get graded and I'm leaving money on the table, you know, all of a sudden. So that's kind of why I think people were raising those raw book prices, because they just knew that, oh, if you're just going to get it graded and it's going to double the value, like, why wouldn't I just sell it for that?
Yeah. And I like what you said about the, you know, kind of the flip. And, you know, I know some people, it's like a bad word, but not on this channel. You know, it's like, you know, if somebody buys that raw book, they think there's more potential for it down the road. And again, with an overall dip in the market, you know, maybe you're buying for a longer term hold. Maybe you're buying to try to, you know, maximize your value. And I think it was what we just talked about, like the higher grade selling for less 1 week apart, this and that, is just a result of a big downward dip in the market, right? Yeah. So a lot of things are coming into play that are causing, you know, some of these weird prices on slabs. Sprinkle in some really big missteps this year with grading companies, people's desire to have that book in a Mylar if it's an older book. And now you're starting to see a little bit more demand for raw books than graded books, which is just going to naturally cause an increase in price. I mean, again, there's going to always be those steadfast rules, right? The 9.8s, the modern 9.8s, 9.6s, you know, certain like books over $1,000, you're always going to see that. But I mean, for me, just in the past 3 months, since I've starting to buy comics again, I've been paying attention to a lot more auctions of books that don't necessarily have anything to do with news or keys or anything like that. And what I've been seeing is, you know, those lower grade Silver Age books that aren't necessarily that expensive, you know, a 4.5, you know, this book in a 4.5 sells for $70. But a raw 4 to 5.0, you know, 4.0, 5.0 is selling for 90. And right. I've seen that, my own personal experience, and I've seen it over and over again. And I think it's a reason, it's because of all the reasons we've been talking about. So I don't have a specific example. It's just, I have been seeing this time and time again over the last few months. Have you guys noticed something like that as well? I mean, because I keep seeing it happen, and it's kind of, sometimes it doesn't shock me, and other times it is, because I'm like, that's not really like a filler book. Like, that's kind of like a book that I could see people having in that grade, but obviously not to these group of buyers. They'd rather have it for more money in a slab. I mean, in a Mylar.
Totally. Do you think there's like is it like there's always the potential? Like I kind of said it in jest in my video, but it's like if my book is raw and I know it's a VG, there's always like in my mind, I'm like, well, maybe it's a 5.0.
Right.
You know, versus like when it has the number on it, I know this is the number. And like,
good point.
I don't know. Do you think that there's like a weird collector psychology that's kind of coming into play?
These days, even with the number on it, is it really the number?
Right. That's what Jay was saying.
Yeah, good point. I don't know.
Yeah, like I'm just to piggyback you, Jay. That's all.
Yeah, no, and I like what Roy said in the chat, and Supreme said something that I'm going to disagree with. That these graders are human and everybody makes a mistake. And listen, I get that, but when it comes to money and collectibles, and you're paying top dollar to have these books graded, you're paying top dollar to get your books pressed and cleaned before all this happens. I don't want to hear it's a mistake. And I think it's a combination of people maybe smartening up with money a little bit and losing faith in these grading companies. Listen, people aren't blind. That CGC got so many artists coming in and they're so distracted by this and there's private signings. And I get it. Listen, me and Matt spoke earlier today and Matt said it. If you live somewhere where there's not big cons, where you can't get these books signed, it gives collectors a great opportunity to send your books in to get them signed. But it seems like CGC pushes everything to the back burner for these signatures now. I mean, they're having Kit Harington there. They're having the girl from Hawk. Like, it got to stop at some point. Focus on what you're there for, to grade books, right? I don't want to hear, oh, we made a mistake. No, I don't want to hear that, because they don't refund you in any way. Yeah. And they really don't make things right. And I have a horror story that we're going to talk about in a little bit. The person happens to be in litigation with CGC, and we can't talk about it right now, but when that's all said and done, we're going to talk about it. And it has to do with them losing books, and it's a disaster, man. Like, listen, I don't want a mistake. And if my book is, I think it's a 9.8, and they bring it back a 9.2, a 9.4, or even a 9.6, and there's no notes, fuck that. I want to know why this book didn't hit that 9.8. At least give me that respect. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's not even about respect. You deserve to know. You're paying
for
a
exactly.
service.
Yeah, 100%. You're paying for a service.
Take respect out of the equation. You're paying for a service. So when you pay for something, you expect the service in return.
Especially if it's like I think of like Amazing Spider-Man 300. Like the price between a 9.8 and a 9.6 is like thousands of dollars, right? Yeah. So like. Yep. And you sent it in, like you need that explanation. Like, why is mine a 9.6? Like,
there has to be an
tell me why mine is like 4,000 difference. Yeah,
correct.
What do you got there?
And I just think, I think overall as collectors, and now everybody being in the community and being in a Facebook group or being on Instagram and seeing all these mistakes that are being made, I think people are starting to lose faith in CGC and graded books, and I think that's another main reason why people are gravitating towards the raw copies.
Listen, if you get your hands on the raw, then you can take your time and you have it, and maybe when things get fixed or things get better, you can send it in. So that's another reason why they're gonna grab them now while they can, and then this way they have them in their hands, in their possession. But Dave Cerrone is yelling out and wants some Eva for Swagglehaus. He said king of the charts and graphs. So
give him a little Eva.
Hey.
Defects. Guess who's back for some more super chats? Yeah, baby. Let's go, Defects.
Let's go, Defects.
Is Eva going to Terrificon?
Possibly.
Wow.
Possibly.
Wow. He couldn't even say that with a straight face.
Nope.
There could be something in the works there.
You never know.
Oh, spoilers. All right.
You never know. You never know. Yeah. That's all we'll say. All right. Let's look at a little bit of data. I didn't want to get too crazy with the detail on this because it is a little hard to work at. So we're going to give two specific examples. Where's that low super chat? Gary.
Gary comes in perfect timing. Look, comes in perfect timing.
No, like Gary's always lurking. He's got us on in the background while he's flipping through about 10,000 books at a time. So let me one book that came to mind that's been hot, so it kind of doesn't give an excuse, right? It's a hot book, so it kind of levels the playing field, is Kanan number 6, right? We all know that's been in the news, right? For one reason or another. And I think that started around, I think, April 6th or 7th. I think that's when the trailer came out. So I tried to kind of look up, I wanted to look up some raw copies. So let me share my screen. If I can fucking do this. Share screen. Chrome tab. There we go. Okay. Now we could just bring it up. All right. So I wanted to bring it back to around the 7th. And again, I'm not, some of these are best offer, so it's not a guarantee that this second one here sold for $120. But let's just assume it was close, right? So obviously this news, I'm trying to get to the first raw copy. This is right. Okay. So right around here, you have this $85 sale for a very fine near mint. You guys can still see me, right?
Yeah.
All right. And then we have this 140 plus, best offer. Obviously, let's just assume it's somewhere between $125 and $130 for this near mint book. Right on that first day. If I just kind of scroll up 115, 120, 100. Let's go back to the first page. Sorry about that. My screen's skipping a little bit. Let me bring it to the bottom. For whatever reason, my screen's not cooperating. Here we go. Let's kind of skip over the raws for now. The slabs for now. This was an $80 copy near mint, so that was a really good deal, I would say. 90, 80 back in the 80s. Now we're getting back up to the 117s. We're back on the rise, right? 81. This was 175 best offer, so that's, even if it was 140, that's still a definite jump. This was 140 best offer. So to me, this was a little lower. I think I looked at that earlier. I had a spine tick. This was like a VF near mint copy, this 85. Basically anything near mint, you could see this $160 for a raw.
Wow.
You got to assume that's near mint or better. You're over $130 for these near mints. And that kind of, the price was kind of set and it kind of just stuck around. Again, this was an $88 book. I looked at it, had a spine tick, 147. Anything with no spine ticks was, right in this $110, $115 range to like $130, $140 range, right? You can see another one sold just under 140. So it's hard to, you're not going to really take a 9.8 and say like, oh, look, the 9.8's cheaper. That's not what you're going to see here, right? It's just, this is a book that kind of has held its value for the last 3 years. But I wanted to just look at it compared to as far as the heat check. Like clearly a book sold today, $145 near mint. So that near mint price for raws is really holding strong, right? So let's go over to the GPA for the 9.8. Okay.
It seems like you can get a better deal on some other platforms other than eBay.
It's possible.
I'm just saying.
We're just saying. Can you see that? This is GPA. Are you guys able to see that?
Not yet.
Can't see it. Okay, hold on. I should probably turn it on, right?
There you go.
So GPA 9.8, Kanan number 6. Right here is when those 9.8 started selling, and you could see $549, $500. Okay, those first two 9.8 sales right after the news. Down to 450, down to 400, down to 388. Jumps back up a little bit, and then starting to level back down again, 425. Okay. So not a ton of sales. It's a decent amount of sales. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8, 9, 8 sales in the last 10 days. It's not a cheap book, right? It's strong, right? If you look at the March 30th price, let's assume that these people kind of knew something was happening, right? Buying up these 9.8s. But if this this 350 to 400 price range in this past month or two, that's where the price was. So even at this later price, we're obviously still above that. But to me, this does, to go from 549 to drop to 425 in less than 10 days, while the raws have remained, if anything, have gone up, I think the demand, and again, we're not talking dollar for dollar, We're talking right now in this instance, raw versus slab. We're talking demand and where the value is. It looks like for this book, it's people are looking for that raw book, and that near mint copy is still on the rise.
Yeah, I think it's just people, because obviously, if you can buy the book for $150 with the potential to get the 9.8, I think people just would rather do that. Like just the demand to be like, you know what? Why am I gonna? Do I really need to guarantee myself a 9.8 and spend $250 extra? I just think a lot of people kind of like, I think what Jay, you said earlier, were just people just being more cautious with how they want to do this. You know, I think that's what you're seeing. So people are like, I'd rather just buy the raw and assume it's going to be a 9.8 or go for the 9.8 or send it in and hopefully it hits.
And especially with this book's going to be at an all-time high.
Right.
You know, everybody's buying up at the news. I think, you know, is the book going to come down? I think so. So why invest whatever that was, $5.69, and buy it at an all-time high when you could roll the dice and buy a raw copy and potentially get that 9.8, especially with a newer book like that, you know? But then there's other stuff going on. Oilers, thanks for the shout out, dude, because I sold Oilers one of these books and he got a 9.8 on that from an old YouTube auction. So thank you for that shout out, dude.
Nice.
Another thing, man, is don't forget now, guys, CGC is starting to give books purple labels for cleaning and pressing. So that's something you got to be on the lookout for, too. That's going to change the game for a lot of people. You know what I mean? Especially if they're hitting you with a purple label for a cleaning service. That's, you know,
we got to talk about that. That's another show, but we got to address that. Yeah.
And real quick, some old school collectors like that. They don't like the idea of a clean and a press. They consider it restoration. Do I? No, I don't. But some people do, and you got to respect everybody's opinion on it. And just like graded versus raw, you got to respect everybody's opinion on it, right? If you look at a Fantastic Four #5, a First Doom, whether someone has it raw or slab, that's still a fucking fantastic book, man. You know what I mean? So I just think people are getting a little more hip to the game when it comes to CGC and, you know, reading the backlash and the horror stories. So I think that plays a big part in this too.
I wanted to give one more example because, again, you know, people were immediately jumping saying the raw book is always going to be worth more. I mean, the slab book is always going to be worth more. And I found an example, and again, this wasn't hard to find. It's not like I had to look forever to find this. An example of a pretty big book, I think. So Silver Surfer #3. And this book I picked for a reason, and maybe you'll see later on why, but I'm not going to explain why right now. So this Silver Age major villain key, okay, in a lower grade, sold for $395 best offer. I looked it up. It actually went for $365. Okay. And let's look. I don't know if I'm going to be able to show. I'm going to zoom in a little bit, and then I'm going to try to bring up the whole book. Let me see what that looks like. I'm going to have to use the magnifying glass a little bit. So this corner, can you guys kind of see that?
Yep.
You know, that spidering, you know, I'm just going to go slow. To me, this looks like the back is pretty clean. I mean, to me, this looks like somewhere between a 4 and a 5. Probably 5 is on the very high side. But if you just say maybe like a 4.5, just because of this corner here and the tear at the top. But even if you want to go high and you want to say 5, I mean, am I in the ballpark with that?
Yeah, grade? I was gonna say a 4 right off the bat. As soon as you started showing it, I was gonna say about a 4.
Okay, but you know what? I'll even give the benefit of the doubt, and let's just say it's a 5. Okay. Now, I wanted to see what a 4 or a 5 was selling for in a graded copy. So remember, this was $360. This book, which it's not like it had like a hidden defect that somebody can see. These are like right in front. This guy had a lot of pictures of every corner. Like you can really, and this was, I want to say it was best offer. Okay. So again, you're not under the gun to, you know, the auctions running down. Maybe you bid too much and then have that buyer's remorse. This is a book that has been sitting out there. Okay. So I want to go to GPA real quick, and this will kind of be the last example of this, but I had to bring up something just to kind of say, are we on to something here? Let me share it with you guys. Okay. So right off the bat, let's just say it's a 5, which again, I think that's a little high. Last sale this month, $380. Okay. And let's just say it is a 4. Last sale last month, not too long ago, $340. This raw book at $360 is, by all metrics, is basically equivalent or more. You're paying more by the time. I mean, you're paying more for it essentially for a raw book than you would that same book in its slabbed form. And this isn't like a tiny book. This isn't like a book that nobody's going to buy in that grade. I mean, there's been 5.55 sales this year. I mean, excuse me, there's been 5.50 sales in this book this year. That's a lot for, a 1968, for one grade, it's been 4 months. I mean, that's, and a book that it's not like it's super hot for any reason right now. So, I mean, this is, maybe it's the exception, but this exception didn't take me more than 5 minutes to find. So I feel like this is happening more than people realize.
Expect more downward trends on this book now that they're gonna fucking gender swap Mephisto. So expect that book to come crashing down soon.
Well, Danner, right? That's the question. Was it an outlier? And we could sit here for hours and look at every raw book and try to grade it out. But again, this was literally the first raw book I found. It's not like I cherry picked it, and I mean, we can, if you want, I guess we could sit here and look for the next raw sale. I mean, I just want to take a quick look, see if anything stands out.
So that's a good point too, because that could be how many followers does the seller on eBay had? What did he post it as exactly? You know what I mean? I think a lot of that comes into factor too.
Yeah, I mean, that one didn't have, it just said C. I think it said C picks for whatchamacallit, for condition, right? It's not like he was I said, if anything, he showed every single defect. It's not like he was getting one picture that maybe somebody didn't look close enough at. He showed every picture. So here, I'm going to show you another one. I mean, this is even in a better example. Just because and appreciate you, Dan Art, coming into the Whatnot sale the other night. Where is it? Let me get rid of that one. But yeah, no, that was a good question. And actually, I'm glad that you made me look at this. Where is this? Stick with me for a second. There it is. Share that up. Okay. So this was an auction. So different style. This is an auction. $368. So right in that same price range. I want to say that this book is slightly nicer, but it has a spine split. All right. You can't really see it from there, but that has a spine split, right? And a decent one. Some spine issues for sure. That bottom corner is not as bad as the other one. You definitely, that's worse than the other book, that little mark right there. But that spine split, 1 inch spine split, you have that right in the V there. You have that cut right in the V, or that slice that's color breaking. So the spine split.
This looks like it presents nicer though.
It definitely presents better. I would say again though, this is probably a max 5.0 because you have a spine split that's at least an inch. Now maybe not as many people know about that. You could see that bottom corner is chewed up, but maybe not as many people know about a spine split, like kind of capping your grade. But I mean, even if you want to say this is a 5.5, right? Like max. So the 5.5s, the 5.0 is selling for $380. So it's like that they're still very, very close, right? Like,
yeah.
So,
and then you have to assume someone would want to pay to press it and then send it in and do that. So whatever that fee is on top, so it's pretty close.
Oh yeah, I mean the grade. If you don't know someone and you're saying it, let's say you're sending in a single book. if you're sending in a single book, graded, clean pressed to an outside party, and then shipped to CGC, graded, that's a minimum. And at this price point, Silver Age, I'm just doing some round numbers, shipping both ways, like you're looking at $90 to $100
Well, unless,
for everything.
Unless using Express CBP, which you have a discount code.
I was just gonna say it, guy. I was just gonna say
I'm
it.
just throwing it out there.
So automatically that 360 turns to, 460. So, and again, I know not everybody bidding on eBay is going to have that same knowledge of the spine split, is thinking of the cleaning and pressing and the grading. But again, this is the second book I found, right? If that second book that I found, is literally the second raw sale on this book, if that was the second book I found and it went for like 260, I would say sure. Then yeah, maybe it's just anecdotal. It's a single instance. It's the exception. And again, I do think that, moreover, the slabs are going to sell more, but I think in certain instances, and it's becoming more apparent, even in my eyes, that the raw books are selling for equivalent, if not even a few dollars more, of their raw counterparts, depending on, like Jay said earlier, depending on the grade, depending on the book, depending on the error. So,
and Guy, could you throw up Fizz's comment real quick? Because I like that. That's a great comment. Bottom line is, who do you trust more? Do you trust CGC&CBCS more, or some rando on eBay who mindlessly props near mint in their listing title? And that's a great point, dude. And that's exactly why I said in the beginning of the show, if I'm buying a high-priced book like SS3 online, from eBay, from whatnot, from Instagram, whatever the case may be, I got to buy that book Slab just for that reason alone. So you're absolutely right. When it comes down to that, I do trust CGC and CBCS more than some dude posting it up on eBay or whatever selling platform they're selling it on.
So I'm going to pose one more question to you guys, and you just take over, and then we'll move on. We'll talk about the Jonathan Majors thing. But, we could sit here and say, bad buyer, misrepresentation, somebody overbid it, somebody didn't think about the grading and this and that. But at the end of the day, doesn't that sale still count? And doesn't it still set a price point? Doesn't it still affect the next sale? Like, obviously when it's egregious, people just throw it away. But Mickey, I mean, it still is going to, like, if you're looking at that and you see that book sold for this price, aren't you going to still, put that into your equation of what you should pay for the book?
100%. It totally counts, and I think, you didn't pull up all of it, but even when you were kind of saying like, it just is empirically true, because I agree with you. We could talk about Silver Star for 3, but I bet if you pulled up Thor 165 out of Morlock, you'd see the same types of things going on. Or if you pulled up like the first Wonder Man book, you'd see the same. It's a lot of these types of, they're big keys, but it's not like an ASM1, like
right.
Jay's point. It's like ASM1, sure. Like, that's going to be different, but a lot of these types of things, it happens a lot, and we're seeing it repeat itself again and again.
What do you think, Jay? Final word.
Yeah, I mean, I pretty much, spoke my piece on it. Depending on the book, right? Just like Mick said, is it a big key? Yeah, it's a big key. Is it a grail? No, it's not a grail. I think at the end of the day, it all comes down to the buyer and the collector and what they want for their. I do see a push in raw books being more in demand now, especially, coming from King Khan and going more, you see more people all the time buying these books raw. And whether they're submitting or not, but it's definitely, CGC and CBCS, they are big companies, but they are definitely catching backlash from collectors in the community, without a doubt.
I mean, and Jay, without just to kind of put like just an extra piece of evidence in there. And again, this is just our personal experience. This is just what we're seeing, like we've made it clear that we still think that, slab books overall are going to be more valuable. But again, we're talking about demand. It's more than just $1, right? But Jay, without saying any names, without saying what book it was, without saying the grade or anything like that, didn't we just have a conversation with someone that said, maybe I should just break out that book and sell it raw because I'll probably get more money for it?
Yeah, 100%.
So,
Yeah,
so this is happening, right? Like, so I don't know. It's an interesting conversation. And as soon as I watched the video that Mickey did, and if you guys want to check it out, his link is in the description. It just, so many ideas, like it kind of brought to the forefront what I had been seeing these past few weeks, just perusing eBay, perusing whatnot, just, and saying to myself, I can't believe that raw book just sold more than what I just looked up a 5.0 to go for. And I know this book isn't a 5.0, so I don't know. I think it's an interesting conversation. I saw a lot of good comments on there. Unfortunately, there's 4 of us. I wanted to address every single one, but then we'd be here for 3 hours, and
yep,
we can't do it. We'd love to, but don't go anywhere. We're not done yet. We still have more to talk about after we talk about a couple whatnot shows coming up. Jay, you selling tomorrow night, brother?
Yeah, I am popping my cherry. It's like I said, every show for the last 3 weeks since we announced this, I'm officially selling my soul officially tomorrow. YouTube just wasn't working, dude. I guess this is the only way right now. We'll check it out. I won't be selling a lot on there, but I'll definitely be selling some cool books that I know are probably going to go for a lot lower than I'm expecting.
Get your deals.
But it's a good time, right? It's getting books to you guys in the community. Everybody's winning. I'm making a little bit of money. Maybe you're getting books you like. We're going to have a good time. We'll all be up there chatting like a show. So it is what it is right now, right? Let's go.
That's it. Yeah, Jay's going tomorrow night, 9:45. We start off with Erod, 7 o'clock. Gary's at 8:30. Can you hear me?
I think my earbud died.
Mickey, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can still hear you guys.
Oh, okay. So
both of you. Yeah.
It's just Jay then. Yeah, Jay goes on 9:45 tomorrow night. Erod first at 7, Gary at 8:30, and then we're starting at 9:45. Probably go till about 10:30, 10:45. A couple giveaways going to be in there. And like we said, if you haven't been there yet, it's all 3 of us hanging out just like here on YouTube. So it's like a little mini show on Whatnot. We talk about whatever happened. There always seems to something that happens either Monday night or Tuesday morning, and it's always after our show. So we've been talking about that on Whatnot as well. So it's like you get like an extra show, and maybe you buy some books. So links in the description. Even if you're not buying, just come hang out with us. It's something we can, like we said, we're giving books away. We're bullshitting with you guys, so it's more than just selling the books. So
the Defects are doing another show on another day. Just come by. I mean, it's
content, baby. It's content.
What more do you ask for?
That's it. So
A Supreme Love. I think I still have that Thor 166. I still have that, Maddie, right?
I think so. Yes, you do.
I think I do. You want to DM me? You have Instagram? DM me.
There you go.
Slide in that DM, brother.
So yeah, the book.
What up, Thoro in the chat?
Yeah, what up, Thoro?
Look at the shirt.
Links in the description and the QR codes on the screen.
Look at the shirt.
Keep it thorough, baby.
What up?
How'd you know to wear that?
Thank you, CLG. CLG in the house. CLG, we're going to be talking about CLG next week. We just didn't have enough time this week, but we got CLG's got some. We've mentioned it before on this channel, but we got a giveaway for you guys next week. So I'll just tease that and we'll leave it at that. But make sure you tuned in next week on YouTube because we got a nice giveaway. And if you want a giveaway, Jay's doing 2 fucking awesome giveaways tomorrow night. I was like, "You're giving those books away?" So he was like, "Yeah, fuck it." Yeah, Jay's in the chat because his earbuds died. I don't know if he's going to jump back in or he's done, but we quickly just wanted to talk. So tomorrow night, Whatnot, 9:45, come hang out, bookmark the shows. That helps us out a lot. Links in the description or QR code on the screen. Guy, tell us about the last thing we're going to talk about here.
Well, I mean, this is just funny. I obviously it was in the news. There's some big channels. I mean, we're like this. We're like this. I mean, there's some big channels throwing some videos up there about, and Kang is having some. You see what I did there with the words? Kang is having some majors issues.
Yeah,
major.
We saw that
with the S.
Got him.
Got him. That's all. I mean, guys, does this hold any? I mean, How about this? I go to my cousin Vinny. Does the defense's case hold water?
Well, do you want to hear the quote? You want me to? I kind of copied and pasted the quote.
Go ahead, bro.
Speaking on the Hot Mic podcast, insider Jeff Schneider, I've heard his name before,
and I've seen it. I read this too. So go ahead. I'm excited for it.
Brought up the Idris, okay, and that's Damson Idris, who is set to play opposite Brad Pitt in Apple's upcoming movie set in the world of Formula One. Here's the quote. Here's one I wanted to talk about. Did you see who got cast in the Brad Pitt racing movie? ? Damson Idris. And if you don't know who that is, he's from Snowfall. Actually, I really like that show. I think he's from, and he says, I think he's from Snowfall. And so that's like a big part, right? That is the young hotshot racer opposite Brad Pitt in this $150 to $200 million racing movie. That is a big deal that he got that. He noted that the young talent would be the kind of actor the studio is looking at if Jonathan Majors gets the boot as Kang. And again, quote, even though there hasn't been any movement on the Jonathan Majors front, I've heard that that's the kind of actor who if Jonathan Majors got the boot as Kang, someone like Damson Idris is the type of person that Marvel may look at to replace him.
So they literally said they want a Damson Idris-like actor.
It's the first time that's ever been said.
Swag, what the fuck?
I mean, is that just seems like we want the young, gonna be influential in Hollywood for the next 10 years actor, right?
I want the Butcher-esque to be the third defect. I want to. If God forbid something happens.
The Butcher-esque replacement. Yeah.
What?
It's interesting. Do you think that they see these stories? Like, does Disney see the test the
100%.
waters? You know,
100%.
Yeah.
How would fans react to this if we recast?
Well, Jay, before you cut out, Jay, can you hear us?
Yeah, I'm good. Sorry,
I know you wanted to talk. I know you had we have a little bit of a difference of opinion on this. So go first, just in case you get cut off again. But tell me, what do you think about this? Because I know you threw something in the chat.
I knew this was coming off the jump. The mouse don't play, dude. They're not gonna have a dude that's allegedly, involved in a domestic violence incident, and whether it disappears or not, they always disappear. Look at the NFL. Look at sports in general. These always disappear because the victim gets paid off, and whatever the case may be, Disney don't want to be associated with any type of domestic violence, especially nowadays. And think about all the money they're saving now with an actor that's not as big as Jonathan Majors. I'm surprised it didn't happen sooner. I'm surprised it didn't happen when the news dropped, but I guess they had to get their lawyers involved and see where they go from there. And that's it. And, if you've been following it, whether it's on IG or in the news, more people are coming forward that worked with this guy's Majors and said he has violent tendencies. So before anything else bad happens, right, like Ezra Miller, I just seen Lord of Brooklyn put it in. Listen, they stuck with Ezra, right? I mean, and that dude allegedly held people hostage, but who knows? But
too much money on the line for them. That's why.
Yeah, exactly. Way too much money on the line. I mean, I like. I haven't seen Ant-Man 3 yet, so I can't tell you my opinion on Jonathan Majors' portrayal of Kang. But I like Kang the Conqueror, and if this kid's gonna step up and do a good job, then there you go. If there's not going to be any backlash for Disney, you know what I mean? If there's not going to be a bunch of protesters outside with nothing better to do than protest a Marvel movie because of domestic violence, they don't want that headache. So,
Jay, on a positive note, I don't know if this was meant for you or not.
I was dying.
You want to just read that out loud?
No, I can't even pronounce half those words, but I like it.
Tapioca lick the pudding.
Oh, there you go. I like it. Yeah, man. They don't want to be exactly, and like Roy says, is there any? I mean, there's people that still go out. I'm excited for Guardians 3. It's gonna be the first movie I go see in the theaters in a long time.
It's gonna be a fun night.
Cinco de Mayo.
I can't even think of the last Marvel movie we saw in the theaters.
No, we saw a DC movie in the theaters.
Yeah, we saw Batman. I couldn't even tell you the last Marvel.
Oh, Shang-Chi. We both fell asleep.
Yep.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
But yo,
That
the
was
second
good.
time I watched it on Disney Plus, I liked it.
I did too.
You know what I
did too.
mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, you know Disney's not playing, man. You know they're gonna.
I don't know, man. See, this is like me and Jay are on the opposite side, and we have been since the beginning. We got a little side bet going. Honestly, I think like what Swag said. Now, I'm not saying that he won't get fired, because I think if more comes out, or he does, you know, if the case goes forward, he does go to trial, then that's a different story. My thing is, I don't think it's going to get that far. I think what's happening here is they're definitely testing the waters, like Swag said, but I also think they're also doing cover fire. Let's say they put this out, and the evidence has already come. The stronger evidence is on the opposite side so far. They've all, like the last 2 weeks, all you've seen is all this evidence being put out there in the news, and I'll say evidence, about how it wasn't him, he didn't do anything, the girlfriend's text messages, this thing and that thing. That's by design, of course. So, but Disney now has kind of like a, look, we would have done this if something happened. We covered our ass. Like if this guy was guilty, or we felt like he was guilty, or it did go to trial, we were actively looking for a replacement already. So don't yell at us. I really think this is just more cover. They're still waiting to see what's actually going to happen. I think if everything that remains the same as it is today, let's say nothing changes, nothing happens, this doesn't go anywhere, no new evidence, you're not going to hear a word about this. It's just going to die off.
Yeah, and
if this goes to trial, that's a different story. If honestly, I don't even think it's going to make it that far, but it is New York. It's a little like if this happened in a different state, you know, this would be a slam dunk not going to trial. New York's, they're a little harsher with domestic abuse. So we'll see. I mean, it'll be interesting. I don't think you're going to see anything happen anytime soon. But if a major, like if a cell phone video comes out of him beating him, then it's game over. So
if you're saying if they were in Alabama and they killed a good old boy, there is no way that this is not going to trial.
Right. That's the equivalent of this. Yeah.
To be honest with you, I don't even think this goes to trial. Yeah,
right.
It can't go to trial if you don't have we'll say a victim or
right.
someone alleging something to begin with. And yes, he did make the 911 call, but you know how Disney is, guys. It's a very, very mindful, liberal company, and they want to protect themselves. Say they don't fire him and something else happens, which you never know, could. And do I feel bad for the guy if it's not his fault? Yeah, absolutely. But we all know this is how Disney functions, man. We know this.
It was how they functioned, but now that they're losing money, is it still how they function? So that's going to be what's interesting.
This is a big play right here. It's a big play, and it's gonna be crazy to see what they're gonna do with it. Honestly, I don't think he goes anywhere if you don't hear any more about it. I agree with Matt.
And who knows what goes on behind the scenes with Disney? They could have been looking to out this guy before it happened. He could have had problems or creative differences, and they're like, now we got our option to get rid of this guy. We don't know, but
what do you think, Mickey?
Well, yeah, I mean, like Jay was saying, you know, you think not that Majors' case is at this level yet, but like if you compare Ezra Miller, it seems like Warner Brothers was willing to like stick with it versus like Johnny Depp, Pirates of the Caribbean, Disney brand. It was like, all right, get this guy out. Like as soon as the thing came out. So Disney, I think, does have a shorter leash probably when it comes to this type of stuff.
Which is crazy. Which not to interrupt you, I'm sorry, but which is crazy to me because of Johnny Depp and how big Johnny fucking Depp is.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. That's an enormous, and he is that franchise. No matter how you cut it, he is that Pirates of the Caribbean franchise, and they're dickheads for what they did to him.
Well. And go ahead, Mickey. I'll let you finish because you're probably going to say what I was going to say. But go ahead.
No. And my last little point will be, I think it'll be interesting because they probably need to make the decision by Loki, right? Yes. Like when we get a Loki trailer, will he be in it? And all that stuff.
That's what Darrow just said in the chat. Will he be in it? We'll know then. We'll know before then.
Yeah, that's a good point.
But I mean, you guys brought up Johnny Depp, and just taking a step further. Is he the reason why they won't jump the gun this time? Because they clearly fucked up with him. They fired him and cost themselves $1 billion because that's what that movie would have brought. The next one, it would have brought $1 billion, and they cost themselves that because they just jumped the gun.
Yeah.
I mean, clearly there was some stuff there, but all of the allegation as to really why they fired him all turned out to, as far as we could see in court, were false.
And listen,
My dog stepped on a bee. What?
listen. At the end of the day, Disney doesn't give a fuck about any of these actors. They don't give a fuck about Feige.
That's true.
If this guy continues to do what he's doing, he's out. They have no loyalty. None of these companies have loyalty to anybody. So don't be surprised. All they see is dollar signs. It's just like
They really do have. Oh, sorry. I was just gonna say, and they really do have the easiest creative out compared to any of these other actors, right? With
Very
variants
true.
and all that
That is
stuff.
very
Like,
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
This is a tough one though. This isn't like an actor like that nobody knows, or an actor on his way, like kind of in the twilight of his career. This is an actor that is literally breaking out in front of our eyes.
Yep.
true.
Right. So like this is Disney's not going to just wave a magic wand at this one. Like they have to be sure, because of what happened with Depp, what's happening with their bottom line, the fact that the fucking whole entire saga is based around this
Based on
guy,
this fucking guy.
based on what's happening with Ezra Miller. Like this is literally on their top of their desk every single day, trying to figure out what's the best move. They're not going to just say fuck it and we'll deal with the consequences either way. They're definitely not going to dismiss him lightly. I'm not saying that they're definitely not going to dismiss him, but this isn't just like, you know what, let's save face, get rid of this guy, and whatever it is. Like they can't afford to do that right now. They are not in the position to be able to do that.
Yeah, because think of all the other stuff that comes along with that. Toys, right?
Yeah.
Merchandise.
Yeah, his likeness and all that.
Exactly. It's
This guy was set to be the next biggest fucking actor, dude.
Yeah,
He
and
still might be.
yeah, he still might be, but it's Disney's viewers and their perception of someone, which isn't fair to him, and just like it wasn't fair to Johnny Depp. But listen, I have no faith in Disney, and you guys know that who watch this channel. So
Wait, so sorry, Jay.
no, go ahead.
If you guys were Robert Iger, what would you do? Assuming like you've heard different things, and you're clearly you don't know, but what would you do right now?
Innocent until proven guilty. That's my opinion.
That's how it used to be, right?
Yeah, but
That's the law, isn't it?
No, it is the law, but can they wait that long with all this teetering on it?
I'll go to Jay on this, Mister. I am the law.
I don't know. That's tough. That's a really, Jay makes a really good point, because if they wait too long, if you go too far down the rabbit hole, I mean, right now is the perfect time, because if you didn't see Ant-Man, spoiler alert, 3, 2, 1, Jonathan Major's character, we don't know what happened to him. Maybe he died, maybe he didn't, maybe he got sucked back into a different realm. We have no fucking clue, but they could easily say he went away and it changed the face of every Kang variant. I mean, it's literally built into being the decision being made right fucking now.
And that's what makes
the problem
with the easiest out. They have the easiest out.
Yeah.
They always do. They had it before, problems like this with the multiverse. Oh, this was fucked up. Let's just blame it on the multiverse. That's what lost my interest. You know what I mean? Give me a character and let him stick around from this universe. Don't give me all these other guys in multiple movies.
Shit. A Supreme Love. I know Thorough just said something too. A Supreme Love.
Yeah, he's saying the projections are low, but we'll see.
Mike Tyson for Kang.
All day.
It's in the multiverse.
I gotta follow him. I gotta follow him through the stratosphere.
All right, guys, I think we're gonna wrap it up. You guys have anything else to add before we get out of here? Everybody's Mickey, what do you got going? Tell us, Mickey, I know your Kickstarter just wrapped up. Yeah, you just wrapped up with the Kickstarter. Give us a quick, how did it go? How was the experience?
Yeah, it was great. Last time I was on the show, you guys helped me out and got the word out, which I really, really appreciate. And we hit our goal. And so, there's no turning back now. Now I got to deliver. And so I'm working on that. So it's really exciting. And yeah, I can't wait to get the book out to everybody. So,
and you want to officially tell the people where you're going to be in the next couple of months?
Well, tomorrow I'm going to be going to a whatnot auction, right? The Pressable Defect whatnot one.
Oh, look at
right?
that!
I'll be there, right? And then I'll be going to Terrificon. I think hopefully we'll all get to meet up in person for the very first time. So that's definitely exciting. Yeah.
I don't know if that's going to be good for you, but
Start taking your milk thistle now. And dude, hold
everybody
on, before I
buy
wrap
stock
up,
in Pedialyte. I'll tell you that.
I love Thorough's comment. I think standalone films by Marvel and DC are the way to go. So do I, dude. It's like reading a one-shot comic, and you could do everything. Doesn't have to be intertwined. I don't understand why they get this concept that I get why they do it, but a standalone movie, dude, would be awesome. Like I'd rather and not from Disney. I'm not going to say Disney, but I'd rather a standalone Punisher movie. I'd rather a standalone Daredevil movie, like movies used to be, than everything tied in, and then you got to worry about this and that. So, great comment, Thorough.
But do they have to be absolutely standalone? I mean, the model that worked in Phase 1, 2, and 3. I mean, those movies, while they were intertwined, they didn't necessarily feel like it until the end. And if there was, it was like one single point of the movie that only a certain percentage of the audience actually understood that there was a connection. That model worked. It was proven, right?
They were putting the Avengers together to fight, basically a common foe in Thanos and the Infinity Gauntlet. But it worked. But it's not working now.
It's not. Well, I feel like they've amped it up, and past the point of where it worked. I mean,
why not a standalone movie every once in a while? Why?
I agree.
You know what I mean?
agree. I mean, still in the same universe, there's still going to be that connection no matter what. But like, why you don't have to make it be like, where does this fit in? Like you just said, like a standalone Punisher.
Yeah.
It doesn't necessarily have to fit into what they're doing right now.
I would definitely like to see that. I feel like they probably should have done that. It was just the standalone thing, and then throw in the, hey, there's Cap Shield Easter egg,
why not?
in the Shield building that they walk into,
Chad makes a good point. He said the single greatest thing done in cinematic history was 23 movies, culminating with the last 2. It was epic and would probably never be done again.
And that's the problem.
So,
we're trying to
looking like
recreate
it. Yeah.
And they're not doing a very good job.
They're trying to do it, and you're trying to recreate awesomeness. Like, and you know what? Maybe you can't.
And DC does it. Look at Batman. You just get a Batman movie. You know what I'm saying? That's totally separate from everything else.
That's it.
Not in
just don't leave
continuity.
Celestials in the ocean. I think that's seriously. The thing. Just like have smaller scale third act fights.
Oh, seriously. Listen, this is see, like we're getting into a topic now, another topic that we could talk about for hours and hours and hours. But hopefully in 2 weeks we have good news. Well, it would be 2 shows from now that maybe Guardians changes things a little bit. We'll see. We'll talk about that next Monday. But I think we're gonna get out of here. This was a really great show. Mickey, Swagglehaus, I really appreciate you. Number one, loaning us or giving us the starter fluid to continue this conversation that you started. Make sure you guys you subbed up to Swag. Make sure you're watching his videos. The link is in the description. And I really appreciate you coming on here with us.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me on. It was a lot of fun.
Jay, Guy, appreciate you boys as always. See you guys tomorrow night. See you in the chat. If you're going to be hanging with us and whatnot tomorrow night, we're going to do a little bit more discussion while we sell some books. All 3 of us. So come hang out. All right, boys and girls. Appreciate you, Defects. We'll see you tonight. If not,